There's a couple things that stand out to me. One of them is Kevin writing in here that this is not about leverage. It is clearly about leverage, and
Isn't
that
everything.
Yes,
Everything's about leverage.
Of course,
when
it
you're
is
negotiating.
and that is made clear as he continues to write about this. That this is about leverage, and then he makes the case. Not that anyone up there asked me, okay, but I feel like they have made a bunch of mistakes when it comes to this, and one of those mistakes that they've made is they felt like they have the public's ear. And maybe even now thinking because the Bears are good and fans feel really good about where things are going under Ben Johnson, and Kevin deserves a lot of credit for opening up the purse strings to bring Ben Johnson in. I think they have continued to make the mistake of thinking that Bears fans are not citizens. And citizens care about things like where their tax dollars go. And we've seen, even in Kansas City, we've seen even in Missouri, where they have 3 Super Bowls over the last 6 years, that the people of Missouri were like, no, we don't like the idea of you reaching into our pockets for you to build you and the Royals to build a stadium in downtown Kansas City. So I think this is one of those things where I wish that they were doing a better job of lobbying the legislators instead of trying to appeal to the fan base. I felt like that's what that pep rally at Soldier Field was. And to me, it felt like a lack of understanding of where the power of the purse strings is. Like aligning yourself with Brandon Johnson, who is clearly an advocate for the city and a Bears fan, but has no power when it comes to getting the Bears what they want from the state legislature. That kind of lack of understanding to me is baffling. And so when you put this out here, and it might be a good time for it because of how Bears fans feel about it, I don't think that you're making a lot of friends in the place where you still need to make friends. That I start thinking about where are the landmines in this. If I'm the Bears, that's how I would be looking at it. And I think that there's been a lack of understanding of what government entities are connected to what, and how Chicago politics is different from county politics, and county politics is different from state politics. Now, in some cases, those things overlap. You have someone like Cam Buckner who represents the city in the state legislature, and he's got thoughts about how all of this should happen. We've talked to him multiple times on this show. I imagine we'll talk to him again soon at some point, considering this. It's not knowing how the game is played, and so you're kind of working backwards a little bit here, because you have a parcel of land that everyone knows that you paid hundreds of millions of dollars for the land in Arlington Heights. So it comes off as an empty threat when we know that you've already have said that you think that Arlington Heights is the best place for you to do it in Cook County, when you then throw, well, we'll move the team to Indiana. And Big Ant, like, that's another place where I feel like there are some landmines. And the reason is, I don't know, and I have to do more study on Indiana legislature, okay? But if I'm just looking at population and regionalism in Indiana, if you look in that state, there is a significant space of where I would consider Bears fans to be, a.k.a. the region, Northwest Indiana, all right? Yeah. The rest of that state is filled with Colts fans. And the rest of the legislature, I would imagine, in the state of Indiana is filled with Colts fans.
And you point that out not because Bears fans couldn't travel to the stadium because it's 30 miles away from Chicago.
It's going to be easier for a lot of Bears fans to go to a stadium in the region than it is in Arlington Heights.
Yeah, but your point is more so about the political climate of actually making it happen there.
Yes, and whether or not, because right now in Indiana, one thing I do know that's going on in Indiana politics, there's a lot of questions about redistricting and redlining going on in Indiana. And do the Bears want to be caught up in that too? Do they then want to have to wade into the waters of Indiana politics? And it's just my opinion, but the way that they have acted when it comes to Illinois politics makes me feel as if they might be taking a cavalier approach to Indiana politics and think, well, Northwest Indiana, the region, those are all Bears fans. Right. But what about Indianapolis? And what about Terre Haute? And what about French Lick? There's a lot of places in that state that don't give a damn about the Bears and don't want to have people reach into their pockets to help the team that they don't root for. So,
and I wonder a little bit if the fact that, of course, the Colts are there within the state of Indiana, and because a lot of these things don't happen, none of these things, when you're talking stadiums in the National Football League, there's only 32 teams, and there's less stadiums than that. What are there, 30 stadiums or something like that? Because multiple teams, L.A. shares a stadium, New York, who actually plays in New Jersey, shares a stadium. But the league as a whole ends up approving these deals, having a part in how they play out. I do wonder what the Colts' reaction is perhaps, to the idea that the Bears may move into their side of the border, into their state, if that's already been floated, because this has been playing out for a while. Of course, before Kevin Warren was with the Bears in their team president role, the land in Arlington Heights had already been purchased, and so you're in some ways playing catch-up since that period of time, but there's been an opportunity to maybe catch up and try to make the situation as good as it can possibly be. But I do wonder what would, and perhaps even public reaction that could come from the Colts just with this as a potential idea, something that's floated as far as Northwest Indiana, or if those discussions have already taken place somewhere in the league offices and just kind of felt that out a little bit before this ended up becoming public.
From a political standpoint here in this state, I think that we'll see. Okay, I'm just basing this on being around a lot of Chicago and state politicians and living here my entire life. My thought on it is, the legislators from Illinois are not going to take kindly to it. If the thought by the Bears is, now we'll let them know that Northwest Indiana is in play, and now the state legislature is going to buckle to, I don't want to say demands, but to our way of thinking, I'm not sure about that. And again, this to me is about understanding, and I'm going to add another level of this: city, county, state, and presidential politics. The governor of Illinois is probably going to run for president. One of his platforms has been no public money for private enterprise. And considering they haven't really, at least reportedly, been able to truly sit down with Governor Pritzker to try and bring him over to their side, if I'm Governor Pritzker, I'm laughing at this. And I'm like, all right, go ahead. Good luck. Good luck with your new venture into a body politic that you don't know anything about.
This is going to be a different venture for the Bears if that's the direction it ends up going. The Chicago Tribune was on this story initially, and apparently the Bears were in a position where they kind of needed to react to what the Tribune was putting out, and that seems to have induced this open letter just to kind of confirm from the Bears' perspective of where things stand on this issue with the the Tribune was apparently all over this a little while ago and preparing to put it out.
Yeah, and I can't figure out if this is good or bad for the Bears. Like, I feel like it's bad. Like, I feel like it's bad because this week has been nothing but bouquets thrown at them.
Yeah.
And now you get back into the muck of the business of football. And we are now, instead of talking about sports and talking to Mike Martz, we're talking about politics, right?